Good morning, guys. Welcome to Fishful Thinker. I'm Chad LaChance. Standing on the side of the Cashlaputa River holding my favorite St. Croix ultralight spinning rod. We're going trout fishing today, all about ultralight spin fishing for trout. So we're gonna maybe do some jigs, some little tiny hard baits. There's no telling, maybe even a little surface bait. It's 4-pound test and an ultralight rod. It's a fun way to catch trout, so stay tuned, get comfortable. It ought to be fun.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Berkeley, catch more fish. Abu Garcia, for life. Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. EVINRUDE, spend more time on the water. LOWRANCE, find, navigate, dominate.
We talk a lot about reading the water. Well, if I look across here, we've got the shallowest water over there. This is the outside bend in the river. It's not a real hard bend, but it's enough of a bend to create deep water right here. What I don't know, because we're just getting started, is are the fish in the really deep water? Are they up on the inside shoal? What's the situation? So one thing I can tell you for sure is that it rained a whole bunch this morning and overnight. The river's come up quite a bit, like 4 or 5 inches of river flow, which equates to a lot of water. And so we'll see what happens with that. I think that's gonna make fishing a little bit tricky here this morning. And then hopefully the sun will come out, and if it does, we'll get a little bit better conditions for catching trout. Okay, there we go. So as we're trying to work out whether they're in the shallow water or the deep water, what I've been doing is working all of it. Well, what I've got now is a St. Croix ultralight that's bent over double and then some, because I got a trout that was basically right in the center, right at what I would consider the seam. And now he has got me. Now, if we're gonna do some ultralight fishing today, one thing you'll find out about ultralights is that even little fish feel big, and this one right here, I don't have any idea how big. Oh, that's a good sized brown actually for this river. This is actually a good sized brownie. And we're gonna bring him over here. We are gonna be netting fish today so that we don't get stuck in that. It's a beautiful brownie right there, guys. Let's put this little St. Croix down. All right, guys, so we've got him unhooked in the net. One of the things I want to show you is the Freybill Conservation Series net. If you notice, it's got a flat bottom in the net. If I lift it up, you can see it's got a flat bottom. That means that that fish can swim in there unimpeded. So he can sit there and get his breath about him, as you can see. He wants out, obviously, but that's not binding him up like a traditional net. And it's also rubberized so it won't get his slime coat off him. So I'm gonna dip the net and let him out of there. It's a beautiful brown. If you look at the marks on his face right there, he's got the hatchery marks on him. We're gonna go ahead and let him out of there. See you, buddy. So our biggest fish so far, and we're only 3 minutes into our day, but our biggest fish so far bit right as the water starts to break where you can't see the bottom anymore. So we'll see about that, if that continues to be a deal. We got significant rain overnight and all the way driving up the canyon this morning. We drove like 30 miles up the canyon in the rain. And so with the rain coming like that, I'm sure it cooled the surface temp of the water down a little bit. I know the river's up quite a bit, and so I really don't know what to expect from the conditions, but with the ultralight rod, I can reach all the way across the river, no problem, anywhere on this river that we're likely to fish. And so really it'll just come down to where the water depth and things like that and the water column that we think the fish are. So we'll see what happens as we go. I'll keep working casting angles at different angles as well. It's been my experience that more often than not, when you get around a river like this, throwing straight across or slightly down is a better call with a spinning rod than throwing straight upstream, but we'll see what happens. It's gonna be a total mix-up. We've got 4-pound test Trilene XL on here, so very, very common line for those of you watching. Monofilament line, very, very common. And then we also have another rod with us that's an ultralight that's got 4-pound test Berkeley Nanofill on it, and we'll throw both of them over the course of the day. This is the Trout Series rod that St. Croix produced. It's made specifically for trout fishing, so it's got a very, very light tip for throwing little tiny baits, but it's got a little bit more beef here in the backbone. And when I say a little bit, it's not exactly a heavy rod by any stretch. As you'll see, it gets a healthy bend in it when a fish is on it. But the beauty of it is it's very short. It's only 5.5 feet long, and you can literally just throw it with your wrist. I mean, there's no effort to throw the bait at all. And that's because it does have that light little tip, and so it's really good in tight confines. Sportsman's Warehouse how-to tip: spinning reels, twist line. That's just all there is to it. So one of the easiest ways to get that twist out of the line is to take the bait off the line altogether, feed some line out in the current, close the bail, and reel it in against the current. What happens is that will take all the twist out of this line. I can reel it up, tie the bait back on it, and all the twist is gone, and the line will be back as good as new and ready to start over again. If you continue to fish all day with that twist in there, eventually you're going to get a tangle. So an easy way to get the twist out is just feed the line downstream and reel it in with nothing on it. And one thing that's really important, if you're going to be working ultralights with a real light line, you need to be very, very vigilant about fresh knots. You need to be very vigilant about any nicks in your line, any damage to your line of any kind, any twists in your line, anything like that. If you have any of that going on, it's going to cost you fish, no matter how forgiving your fishing rod may be. You know, an actual diving crankbait, you know, people think of maybe little plugs in the river like a floating Rapala or a little HD or something, but almost nobody throws something like a true crankbait like this flicker shad that I'm throwing right here. I mean, this bait's really a bait designed for things like white bass and smallmouth bass and walleyes, but I've got a real deep section of the river right here and lots of current. So it's a prime situation for getting a bait down deep into the water column by using the diving lip on it. And one thing I know, as well as I know my own name, trout love to eat fish. Come on, fish. There's one, got him. There we go. Oh, gee, Zooks, that's a big one. Right in the middle right there. Like I said, guys, I didn't really have a good read on the water, and I didn't because it's really tough to read. So now with the light line, we're gonna go real gentle, especially if he wants to come upstream. We're gonna lead him upstream. If I can get him upstream of me, I'll be a lot better off. Look at the bow in that rod, guys. That's why we like the ultralight fishing. The drag set real soft to protect the line. Come on, out of the current, out of the current. There you go, dude, there you go. Come here, there, right, beautiful. Hooked on the tail hook right in the corner of the mouth. So it's a beautiful fish. And with the ultralight, I mean, you look at this little rod, it's rated for, what's this rod rated for? 1/32 of an ounce, all the way to 3/16. That right there, bait right there is on the top end of that range, and beautiful brownie. And see, he can get all of his wits about him. We'll go ahead and let him go. Beautiful fish. Okay, buddy, let's give you a quick look to the camera. Beautiful, look at that, beautiful. See you, buddy.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. LOWRANCE, find, navigate, dominate.
There we go, first throw, new hole, guys. Now here's the best part. We parked my trucks right there. It's a big old giant sucker hole, but the reason I didn't mind coming down here is most people that come to this river are fly fishing right here. And that's great, I get it, I love it, but this is a tough place to make a throw across the other side of the river. And I want to show you something real quick. We'll spare him from the net. He ate my little minnow jig completely. Beautiful little brownie right there. See you, buddy. That's my first throw. We got a truck, we walked down here, I made one cast across the river onto that shallow shelf over there, popped it off there and got bit right away. So there's one on the jig, and that right there is a 16th ounce jig with a 2.5 inch unscented minnow bait on it, because we are in flies and artificial lure sections. Just popping that little jig along. And after we run the jig through here a few times, we'll get maybe the hard bait back out or something else. We'll just keep mixing it up. But so far we've caught fish on, I think, 5 different baits today. We've been fishing for an hour and a half. Our conditions have been sunny, cloudy, sunny, cloudy, sunny, cloudy, mostly cloudy all morning long. So the bottom line is there's no magic baits to it. They're trout, guys. They'll bite a lot of different things as long as you make good presentations. You know, the funny thing is you could be streamer fishing and you could probably get to similar action, but you just can't get your bait to stay so tight to the bottom without a full sinking line or something like that, or at least a heavy sink tip line. And that's the difference between a lot of the baits we can throw on the ultralight and what we can throw. There's one right there that we can throw on the spinning, or excuse me, I'm discombobulated, guys. I got bit again. If you're trying to get a bait and keep it real tight to the bottom, it's difficult to do with a fly rod, is really what I'm trying to say. And there's several options that an ultralight guy can use to accomplish that. Here's a beautiful little brownie right here, and he also smashed that jig tight to the bottom. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. And I'm gonna, again, spare him from the net. There we go. He'll come right out. A little jig will come out real easy like that. What a beautiful little brown, huh? There you go, buddy. Yeah, he might eat bugs for a living, but when a little supernatural colored minnow comes swimming through there, they gotta eat it. It's just gotta eat it. They don't have the opportunity to eat that often in here, anything bigger than little tiny bugs, so they take every chance to get it. Now watch this. Ta-da! That's why you retie after every fish. All right, switching back and forth, guys. Trying to show you it's no magic bait. It's all about the different presentations. Now I've got the flicker shad back on, and I'm gonna throw it in this hole right now. We just got bit in a jig. This is about as far different from the jig as you could possibly get. The whole thing about it is it's really getting a bait that's making bottom contact, that you make good angular casts with, and keeping it down in the water column is all it's taken us to get bites. We've been bit on 5 different baits, a whole bunch of different colors. It really is more important that you just get a bait that'll stay down tight to the bottom. That's all that's mattered so far today. Oh, buddy, there's a good size one there. And he's up on that sandbar on the far side. And here's the thing. I know that 99% of people that stop here aren't able to get a throw over there. And I don't know if he's big as yeah, he's a good size one. Oh, buddy, here we go. That's a real nice one. He's on the front hook of that little flicker shad. No, he's on the tail hook. Either way, easy fish, easy fish. This isn't a hurry. We're not racing. Come here. Easy fish. Keep him in the water. Lead him upstream of the net. Easy fish. Holy smokes. That's a nice brownie for this section of river. How about them apples? He's unhooked in the net. That's your barbless hooks for you. So we'll put him in, let him get going in the water here. Again, there's that Conservation Series Frabo that you can see fish can swim around in that, folks. For this river, that's a beautiful brown. And yes, they get a lot bigger than that in here, and you can catch them bigger than that, but that's a good size one. You can see that flicker shad right there that he bit. What a gorgeous fish. And I'll tell you what, I mean, where we're sitting here, besides getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, if you can see, the river makes a huge bend, and that's a big old sandbar on the other side. Really braided currents, hard place to get any kind of a drift. So I just started working various angles, and I was working really fast when that one bit. And what a beautiful fish. Easy there. We'll get him out. Hey, 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 hey. We'll take him out of here. Look at that. That's a beautiful brownie right there, guys. See ya.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Oh, buddy, there's another one all the way over there on that same sandbar. It's about the farthest throw I can make from here with this little rod, and I'm talking like way over there, guys. And we see about this guy is another nice one. Holy smokes. And that's why we like to throw the ultralight. And if you look at that little St. Croix doing exactly what it's designed to do right there, just perfect. And this fish is Another one on the tail hook. Come on, buddy, right up here. We're gonna spare you from the net. He'll come right off of there, I think. Easy, buddy, easy, buddy, easy, buddy. Okay, now, another beautiful little brown, you guys. Beautiful little brown. And I think that we have illustrated our point with the flicker shad. So we'll probably go ahead and switch up baits yet again and show you that it's not a magic bait. Beautiful fish. See ya, dude. It's all about the various presentations. Now I want the camera to pan over there and you can see the current's breaking hard that way and around. It's creating a sandbar that's right there across the middle, and I can see that sandbar. It's running almost perpendicular to me. So what I'm doing is I'm throwing up on top of the sandbar and then retrieving the bait down and over it, and the fish are sitting in behind it. And holy smokes, is that a good place to fish? Oh, okay, retie every single fish. Like I told you earlier in the show, we'll retie every fish, and that one was no exception. Fish have been real negative most of the day. I mean, we've caught them really good, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, we've caught them good. But just based on how, I fished this river a lot over the years, not this section, but just based on how they've been acting, like we said earlier, we had a lot of rain overnight, and it's been exceptionally cold out, and I think that these fish are just not in a good mood. We haven't seen a single rise all day, not one single rise all morning that we've been out here. And that's rare as well. For this, there's one right there. Okay, that's a little guy. Now that figures right there, guys. The biggest bait I've thrown all day in terms of jigs go anyway, and it's the smallest fish we've caught all day. Goes to show you. But I knew we'd catch one in that seam over there. I mean, that's just too good looking of a spot. And this, I believe, is our smallest fish of the day. So we'll be real quick about him. My hand's wet, and you can see that jig buried right in the tip of his nose right there. A little unscented jig. How nice is that? Hey, buddy. But they've been real negative all day today. They just really hadn't wanted to commit. We've had a bunch of fish jump off. It's kind of crazy to think about when you catch this many fish about them being negative, but the reality of the situation is, if they weren't, we'd have really stroked them with some of the baits we've thrown in certain sections of the river that we've been in so far today. So I'm enjoying experimenting with the new water. I can tell you that much. Oh. There he is. All right, there we go. This is some of the deepest water we've been in yet. And again, it's jig water. When you get the real deep stuff, you gotta have something that'll run deep. And here we go. And just for the record, my truck is right there through the trees. You can see the tundra there and the road. We are not in any sneaky spot, but holy smokes, have we had some consistent fishing. Considering the conditions, we have had some really consistent fishing. Another beautiful fish. Here you go, buddy. Come here. We'll spare you from the net. Oh man, that little barbless jig. There you go. Oh, now I was going to just give him a drink and show him to y'all, but just hopping the jig. So I'm going to show you one more time with this cast how this kind of works. So take the jig. I should have retied that. If I get broke off, it's y'all's fault. And I'm just going to pop it and let it go all the way to the bottom each time. And I'm letting it go to the bottom every time. It goes back. You can feel it tick the bottom. And every time, and I'm just popping it along, and every few minutes we get one of them to bite it. And it doesn't really seem to matter a whole bunch the size of the jig, the color of the jig, so much as that it's bottom oriented and the action that I'm generating with it. That's all that's really mattered. The same thing with the hard baits. We threw completely different colored hard baits. As long as they hit the bottom, they got bit. We threw, you know, all sorts of different baits today, and they've all got bit so long as they hit the bottom. Now basically, at this point, we found this big undercut, and I had not fished this section of river before, but there's a gigantic undercut bank running all the way around here. And so when I look at that, and I know a river full of brown trout, you gotta try it. The jig is absolutely the right tool for the job in that situation. So I'm tied the jig back on. I'm gonna throw it the rest of the day, the rest of the hour or so that we're gonna fish anyway, and see if we can pull a big one out from underneath that undercut bank. So I do believe that it's probably as good a chance as ever to catch a big one is somewhere along that undercut bank where the current runs across there. So we'll see what happens. Again, that'd be a tough place to get any sort of a drift or anything like that. So I'm working with a small strike zone, fish right up against the bank. And a jig absolutely excels in a small strike zone. There we go. That's a good size one. Come on out of there. There you go. Grassy bank, overcut bank, and a nice jig, and here he goes downstream. So funny, because with the ultralight, you struggle with, well, I think it's a giant, because look at the bend in that rod. That's a pretty deep bend in the St. Croix right there, and that little Trout Series rod is definitely doing exactly what it's designed to do. Easy fish. All right, now he's going downstream. Now this is either a good size, oh, it's a nice fish. Okay, come here, fish. Come on, he's gonna surf right over there and visit you guys. Now, if I let a little pressure off him, he'll come see me. Come on. And that undercut bank straight across there, guys, is what I'm talking about. The jig's the right tool for the job. We really wanted to mix it up a whole bunch and show you different stuff. And I know we already caught him on the jig earlier today, but the reality of this situation here is that, yeah, and we got him. Oh, that's the thickest one we've seen yet. What a gorgeous fish. And I'll bring him over here a little bit shallower water. You look at, you can see that perfect little minnow jig. Brown trout's a predator. I don't care what anybody says. And you know, if you've got a jig like that and you can see the bait, and we'll let him get in the water here. Let that conservation series do what it does. Beautiful fish right there. Beautiful fish. Let him get his wits about him. We'll take him out and give you a look. How about that? Beauty. There you go, buddy. Guys, there you have it. We've been fishing for a grand total of about 2.5 hours, all with the ultralight. We've been bit on like 6 or 7 baits. Accurate casting, line control, working your angles, all the stuff we talk about all the time. The ultralight is such a great opportunity to have a good time. 4-pound test and the ultralight rod's such a good opportunity. It's not about a magic bait, it's about making good, solid presentations. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Check us out on Facebook if you want more information about what we do, or fishfulthinker.com, or Instagram or Twitter. So we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next week. Don't fall in the river. I feel like I can't see. I feel like I'm really discombobulated this morning. Okay guys, so here's the deal. We are I'm trying this again. So here's the deal, folks. We are in, no. Dude, I am not combobulated. Let me start this again. 1, 2, 3. Oh God. Train wreck it, why don't you? Hook sets are free. No. Huh. All right, cut.
All right, cut.
Huh, okay, cut. We've got the ultralight. Cut all together.